20th century philosopher George Santayana wrote, "Those who can't remember the past are condemned to repeat it." It is said that history repeats itself, but the truth is that history does not repeat itself because we do not learn from the mistakes of the past. That is why we are responsible for history repeating itself. It is important for all of us to remember our history so that the mistakes made in the past are not repeated. In this video, I will tell you 7 such time periods in history for which you will wish that such a bad time never comes again. World War I. World War I was one of the deadliest wars in history. 7 crore soldiers participated in this great war, which lasted for 4 years. At that time, looking at the destruction caused by this war, a British writer, H.G. Wells, even said about this war that such a war would end all wars. An estimated 16 million people died in the war. Many new weapons were used for the first time in this world war. That is why the First World War changed the map of modern warfare. 1918, influenza pandemic. It is also called the Spanish flu. It was one of the worst disasters in history. The First World War was not yet over when a new crisis engulfed the world that same year. At its peak, the pandemic had infected nearly 500 million people, 1/3 of the world's population. And if we talk about the death toll, it is estimated that 20 million to 50 million people lost their lives, and some figures say up to 100 million deaths. Because World War I was going on and soldiers were traveling around the world. This disease is spreading all over the globe. Partition of India. What could be a worse time to live than when suddenly one is forced to leave one's home, one's people, and one's country? The world has never seen such a terrible mass migration, where about 14 million people left their homes. How many children were orphaned, and how many women were abused? It is estimated that about 0.5 to 2 million people lost their lives during the partition, or perhaps even more. The truth is that the pain of partition is known to those who suffered it. The Mongol Conquest. Invasion of the Mongol nation took place in the 13th century, after which the vast Mongol Empire was formed. The Mongols had conquered a very large part of the earth. The Mongols committed so much carnage during their conquest campaign that historians consider the devastation caused by the Mongols to be the deadliest test episode in history. Genghis Khan was the greatest ruler of the Mongols. World War II. Who would have thought at that time that just 20 years after the First World War, an even greater war awaited the world? But perhaps it was the bitterness created by World War I that so quickly laid the foundation for World War II. This 6-year war proved to be the deadliest war in human history. About 6 million people died in the war. This world war also includes the sole use of nuclear weapons and the Holocaust waged by Hitler, the Great Bubonic Plague. This disease is known as the Black Death. It was one of the most devastating pandemics in human history. Estimates range from 75 million to perhaps as many as 200 million people died in the pandemic. The figures are astounding. The disease is thought to have wiped out 30% to 60% of Europe's population. At that time, a lot of superstitions were created about this disease. Not knowing the cause of the disease, people began to believe that nothing could be done about it because this disease was God's wrath on humans. Rumors added fuel to the fire. The disease kept spreading. Historian Philip Ziegler wrote in his book, The Black Death, that people were destroyed by their superstitions. Year 536. AD researchers have come to the conclusion that this year was the worst time to live. This year, more than half of the world was plunged into darkness. What happened at the end of the 3rd quarter? In fact, a mysterious fog suddenly swallowed Europe and the Middle East. The result was complete darkness for 18 months. The sun has disappeared. The temperature has dropped by 2 to 5 degrees. Crops were destroyed, and many people died of starvation. Historians remember that period as the Dark Ages. My purpose in making this video was that if we look into our history, we will come to know how much our ancestors have seen. And as I said at the beginning of this video, if we don't learn from our history, we are forced to repeat it. We can't change what has happened. But whatever is to come tomorrow, we can prevent it from turning into a bad period, so that when we look back in the future, we do not have a chance to regret our history again. If you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and share. And if you have not subscribed to our channel yet, do it soon so that you keep getting such interesting videos.